Emma Robinson, and I'm a master sommelier. Exploring wine and food is my passion, and it's my life's work. As a wine and food book author, TV host, trained chef, and educator, it's my privilege to share with you the fun, people, and places, and the delicious pairings that make our lives and our planet a better place. Welcome to Quench from my home in wine country. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Quench. Andrea Emma Robinson here, and you know what Quench is all about. We are here to quench our thirst for knowledge and connection and community. So it's great to have you, and I'm so excited to be able to get us back to a really, really fun topic that is perfect for this time of year. But before I do that, let me talk to you about really quickly, last episode, we were at the gorgeous Knights Bridge Winery in the Knights Valley region of Sonoma County, talking about So You Think You Know Oak. Because so many of us, we know those oak barrels, those beautiful French barrels, and they are truly a magic partner for wine, but there's so much more to oak than that. So we talked about everything from world-class red wines with no oak at all, to various forms of American oak, and even rosé aged in oak. And believe it or not, it was fantastic. So if you missed that, check out the recording. And today's episode, our theme is weeknight wine and food pairing, because just because we are back to school and back to work and back from vacation doesn't mean we need to be back to boring. We're looking for fast, easy, delicious, and kind of bargainy, right? Because we want to be able to enjoy weeknight wine and food often, not just for special occasions, because sometimes the wine makes the occasion. So I'm excited to be here at the beautiful Oakville Grocery, or really right next door, but I had to show you this gorgeous picture. The Oakville Grocery is truly an icon in our valley, and its adjacent historic sister property, the Oakville Wine Merchant, which is where I'm sitting right now. It is also a historic building and a wine museum, and it has the most amazing selections of wine. So just check this out. Let's actually jump to the next scene, and look at this. This is my guest, Claire Tooley, Master of Wine, and she is the Vice President of Guest Experience for Boisset Family Estates.
I am.
So first and foremost, okay, we got so much to cover here, but first of all, so
Cheers.
Welcome to Quench.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking me, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I already feel the sense of warm welcome, because if you can see this incredible display and spread, I have to just quickly talk about my feelings about the Oakville Grocery and the Oakville Wine Merchant, and then you'll tell me about the history. But first of all, the Oakville Grocery I've lived here for over 20 years now, but I first came to Napa Valley in the 1990s. I would say when I was 11, but I was of legal drinking age then, and it's just always been this incredible icon. I mentioned that it was the oldest continuously operating grocery in the state. Is that right?
It is, absolutely, and one of the oldest in the entire nation. So it's truly historic.
Which is wonderful. And I remember coming here once. I was here for a sommelier event, and I remember we were all just starstruck because Robert and Margaret Mondavi walked in to get coffee.
Yes.
And we were all just, it's a watering hole, it's a destination, but it's also so important historically. And this Oakville Wine Merchant that you're sitting next to, it is truly a great locals wine destination. I see people walking in here all the time that come to use the Enomatic machines where you can get a tasting portion, a glass, every single AVA of the Napa Valley, plus a bunch of other stuff. You take it from here though, and like, this is a historic building, correct?
It is 1881, as you said, and with actually sitting in the original home, Durant and Booth family home, and they were the first to establish a grocery, and they were basically looking after the locals, those that had come, made the trek over for the gold rush and so forth, and then were making their communities here. And so this was their, to your point, their watering stop, their local, their kind of community center, and that has been in existence ever since. And something that we are so proud of today is this idea of it being a collective, of it being a focal meeting point, not just obviously for the wonderful tourists that we have coming to the Napa Valley every year, and thank goodness they do, and please keep coming.
Yes.
But really for the locals. And where we're sitting right now, this wine merchant, and if any of you have not been, please come and be our guests.
It's really special.
We have over 65 different wines to try, on taste, on pour, and at any given moment. We have hundreds of different wines for sale. Our bottle collection is really quite magnificent.
It is.
And the idea is very much for this to be a true tapestry, a true picture of what is going on in these two beautiful valleys, both Napa and Sonoma, and for the locals who make wine here to have their bottles proudly on display.
Yep.
And actually not just on display, opened, poured, shared.
Yes.
So yes, and I'm so glad you're here, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. And we're starting, and I'm glad that you mentioned about the history of this place. This is part of Jean-Charles Boissier's collection of historic properties.
Yes.
And one thing that I have been marveling at and grateful for the entire time that he has been here, and I have as well, is his sense of history and the importance of preserving it.
Yes.
And this, like Buena Vista, which is the Pinot Noir we're going to taste, and several other, really almost every winery in the stable, but also some of our other landmarks, Jean-Charles has made sure that they stayed what they were.
Yes.
And essentially landmark preservation is how I see his mission.
Yes, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think all of us who have the real honor and privilege of working with him and working within these extraordinary buildings really get to feel it.
Yeah.
You know, we get to feel it every day. There's obviously something very special about historic buildings. There's a sense of not just of place, but also of purpose and the people who have been before us. And really importantly, those who will come after us. And so one of Jean-Charles Boissier's true dynamic is to not just to preserve, but to bring to life and also to give life to it for it to continue.
Yes.
Way beyond us. And so this wine is actually from a very famous property. So this is from Buena Vista, which is the California's oldest premium winery, established by the Count Harasti, who was a self-proclaimed count, of course.
So we could be countesses right now.
Right now,
okay,
I am Lady Claire.
Yes.
I'm Lady Claire.
Okay.
I've decided for the evening.
All right,
anyway,
milady.
So back in 1857, he established Buena Vista, and again, it had a storied and very colourful history over those years. And when Jean-Charles visited as an 11-year-old with his grandparents, and his grandparents actually are really integral to this whole story of history and the preservation of history. They were teachers, and they brought their grandchildren to California for the first time. They visited Buena Vista. Jean-Charles fell in love with it, promised he'd be back, and he did come back and acquire the property, and not just acquire it, but really preserved it. It was in need of a lot of maintenance, and he has done the most beautiful job there, and we're very lucky to live and breathe it. So this is actually the Pinot Noir from Carneros. And what do you think?
Well, it's beautiful, and it actually smells like rose petals on top of like a cherry compote. It's absolutely gorgeous. But and we wanted to start Weeknight Wine and Food with a Pinot Noir because it's got this reputation and well deserved for great food versatility.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about, and I think we're going to go to we're going to talk about our first pairing principle because we all know this, but it's matching body with body.
Yes.
And when you think about both the wine and the dish, we kind of want to, in terms of pairing strategies, we want to break it down into attributes of the wine and the dish because food is all over the place. Right now we have in front of us,
we have a lot of food.
We are lucky. Chicken tenders, we have deviled eggs, we have Caesar salad, and we have cheese, and I think we have a pizza in the pizza oven. And these are all over the place in terms of style, but what Pinot Noir brings to the party is some of the very key things that are great about matching food and wine. And the number one of those, the first thing that we have to focus on is matching body with body, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I completely agree with you, and but you have to then define what body means. And I think that
thank you.
You know, is it weight? Is it power? Is it muscle? Or in fact, is it, you know, a slightly a more slender frame? Is it slightly lighter bodied? Is it slightly more ethereal? Is it ephemeral? Is it, you know, is it so I think that there's lots of things, and I think where Pinot Noir does so well is it has a slightly chameleon effect.
Right.
And it can be both intense and also quite reticent. And again, so that's it sort of matches, it sort of shapes its body around the food that you that you pair it with,
which is perfect. So, and I threw on this graphic, which was really fun because you gave the exact analogy of body, and so we can jump to the next scene. It's there we go. We'll do that right there. Body with body, because if at the very basic level, if the dish is too big for the wine, it's going to overpower the wine.
Exactly.
The same other way around.
And vice versa.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. And I think often that's what throws people off when they're trying to pair wines. You know, they might think, well, what is it about? I love this wine on its own, or I loved this wine last week, or, you know, and yet somehow it's just not doing it for me this week. And it's often because of what they've put with it, and that body shift is usually at the heart of it. It's not so much flavors, it's not so much aromatics, because I think wines can are a little bit like condiments. They pepper and salt the sort of food with their added aromas. But body, it could be the downfall, all the making of a meal.
It's certainly foundational, and I think for me it is the real logic behind the color rule, which is kind of it's a misguided rule, because what we really mean is body, right? So when we say white wine with like fish and white meat, and red wine with fish and red meat, we're not so much talking about the color of each thing as the body, right?
I agree. Totally agree.
Because whites tend to be lighter and reds tend to be heavier. That's why Pinot Noir is so great, because it's sort of got that middle style. And I'm going to say the same thing about barrel fermented Chardonnay, in the sense that it's a white wine, but when it's barrel fermented and when the fruit is really got a lot of depth, this is a wine with enough body to step up to heavier things, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So body with body is much more of a color, is much more the rule than color. So forget the red and the white piece and just think about that. And just with that one rule alone, you're hopefully with me now that this is a show that you need to subscribe to. I always forget to tell people to subscribe to the channel. You'll always get a reminder of the next episode, but that's your license now for now forever to go forward and not worry about the color of the wine and the color of the dish, and really start to break it down into some other things. So let's talk about what some of those are. When we're talking about the attributes of wine and food, we want to be talking about things like matching and contrasting, right? So if we think about complement of body with body, that's a big one.
Sure.
And then we also have the ability to complement other things, but we can also contrast them. And you said something that I thought was really important. You said wine is like a condiment. And it's the acid, really, isn't it?
Exactly. And acidity is something which, you know, thank God for acidity. It's what lifts us up. It's what perks us up. You know, I don't know about you, but that first glass of something really crisp and actually kind of driven acidity at the end of a long day reminds me that it's all okay. Everything's going to be fine. I am going to live forever, and I certainly will get up the following morning. And you know, it puts the pep back in things. And so that acidity piece then comes into play when you're talking about food, especially, and because food has this sort of you know, ability to kind of weigh us down. You know, it can be quite chunky. It can be quite full and rich, and sometimes, often, what you need to just sort of pick it up a little is the acidity, and that's where the wine comes in. That's why they make such a beautiful marriage.
Indeed. So let's talk about that, because if we're going to look for complement, we've already said body with body is a great place to do complement. acid, to
Yep.
your point, is almost always a great contrast to anything that's savory.
Exactly.
Now, sometimes you might have an acidic dish, like a salad with a vinaigrette dressing, let's say. And I remember people used to say, you can't drink wine with salad. And I was like, the French do it all day, every day.
That's right.
But it's because our dressings in the United States were things like Thousand Island, which
Yes.
had a lot of sweetness to it.
Yes.
And if you try to pair acidic wine with a sweet dish, it's tough, and we'll get more into that in a second. But if you've got a crisp wine
Yes.
with a vinaigrette, you're good to go.
Yes.
So we've talked about body. The acid is that almost every condiment in your fridge is either salty or acidic, right?
Sure.
So your word for condiment is that's what wine is, and they put that on the table in Europe rather than salt and pepper shakers.
For sure.
Which
Exactly.
is what I grew up with in the southern table.
It's always very rude in France. I was very lucky. I lived in France for many, many years, and it was the salt and pepper never appeared on the table because it was the idea was that the food would have been perfectly seasoned.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't, the wine would do the rest.
Exactly. So with that in mind, with the wine, we've got the body, we've got the acid. In really good crisp acidity is something that the Pinot Noir grape is known for. So that's another reason that it's such a chameleon for food. It's always got that to deliver. And additionally, though, there's sometimes we can complement even the notion of the fruit. It's harder, but like a lot of times chefs will do a cherry sauce with duck or with pork or something and pair that with Pinot Noir.
Exactly. And again, it's that idea of things sort of picking up and resonating one against the other. You know, it's this idea of the yin and the yang, but actually both of them coming together. And I do think, again, obviously I adore wine and can't imagine a world without it, but I take quite a long time over my wine. I take quite a long time over the aromatics and so forth. But I think that, and if I were to do the same with my dish of food, people would be going, what is she doing? There's something like the nose in the plate. But I do that at home,
I
for
do
sure.
too.
When there's nobody around.
Cheese right now.
Exactly.
Oh.
And the idea being, that you can then, what you might have picked up in the glass, you may or may not pick up in the food, but when you do, there's this sort of, lightning flash, and you kind of go, oh, there we go, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So yes, I do think Pinot Noir, as you know, is certainly from this Pinot Noir is very aromatic, it's very beautiful, it's very floral, it's very perfumed, and frankly delicious, making my mouth water.
Exactly. It's so good. And texture is another piece of it. Body contributes to that to a degree. But sometimes, like for example, we talked about Chardonnay, when it's barrel fermented and probably this maybe has some lees aging.
Yes, it does.
It's got creamy texture.
That's right. This is from Raymond.
Yes.
So Napa Valley, the heart of Napa Valley.
Yes.
Raymond itself is in Rutherford, on the Rutherford-St. Helena border. And this is the Chardonnay. And yes, to your point, it has a little creaminess. From the lees, it has a little oak in it. It's delicious, but it's...
So this is why, for example, this type of thing would get paired with lobster bisque, not so much because of white wine and lobster, but because of creamy texture.
Exactly.
Would be great. Yeah. Not that that's weeknight food, but just giving a sense of a classic and why that works. So this might be great.
Be nice as weeknight.
Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. One of these days when we actually become lords and ladies and duchesses and have somebody in the kitchen doing the cooking. But also I want to talk really quickly about sweetness. And when I say that, I want to distinguish between fruit richness and actual sugary sweetness.
Yes.
Sugary sweetness in the wine is sometimes a real friend to spicy heat, right?
Agreed. Yes. Yes. Again, contrasting.
Yes.
So a little bit of contrast, which also then ultimately complements. And but sweetness is so interesting because we grew up on different continents, you and I.
Yes.
And I remember very, very distinctly when I moved to California, which was 11 years ago now, how sweet I found everything. Mm-hmm. How much sweeter all food seemed to taste here compared to the food that I was used to in France. So we definitely have, depending on where you are in the world, depending on the dishes that you're making, that sort of level of sweetness and your tolerance of it.
Yes.
Is very based on your upbringing and your everyday food.
Very well said. And so when you're having, and many weeknight takeout dishes probably have an element of sweetness to them. If you're getting Thai, if you're getting certain Indian curries, especially based on coconut milk, if you're getting even like sweet and sour chicken or something like that.
Or pineapple on your pizza.
There you go. Then you really need to have sweetness in the wine to match it, because
Agreed.
otherwise, without sweetness, the wine will start to taste really acidic and tart.
Agreed.
Next to
Yeah.
that, the last piece of it, though, in terms of texture, and maybe this will give us the chance to jump in, is when
Can smell this food. I wish you could smell it with us.
Yes, if it was red wines, we talked about body, and you also have texture in terms of tannin, satiny, silky for Pinot Noir,
Yes.
more rich and velvety and plush for things like Cabernet Sauvignon,
Yes.
and sometimes borderline, kind of gritty and raspy
Absolutely.
for things like Nebbiolo or Sangiovese from Italy.
Totally. Those textures are so important. They define and they distinguish the different grape varieties that are used in the wines. They distinguish the different places that those grapes have been
Right.
grown, the different climates and so forth, as well as obviously an element of winemaking, because the winemaker can manipulate a little bit that texture of the tannins with different techniques and obviously different barrel aging regimes.
Yeah.
But that texture is, for me, actually comes almost ahead of aromas for me when in terms of the interest of the wine,
Right.
and letting it sit in your mouth just a little bit longer and working out what that texture is.
Yeah.
It's like different materials, different cloth,
Yes.
and different weave.
Yes.
And that's exactly what wines have, and I love that about it.
Me too. This is like sort of satin sheets for your
Yeah.
your palate, and Cabernet Sauvignon might be the
Yeah.
velvet smoking jacket for
That's right.
Milord.
That's
But there's also texture when it comes to white wine with bubbles.
At last. I get
And
the
right,
bubble.
because we really want to leverage that. Now that Americans, we've gotten the memo that you don't need a special occasion to drink sparkling wine, and it makes the occasion. We've also got the opportunity to leverage the fact that it is really, really a wonderful food wine. It's
It
got
really
all
is.
that acid, plus
Yep.
it has scrubbing bubbles, right?
Yep.
So I showed you an image of the can there, but this is, tell me about this wine. This is really cool. I've tasted it before. I actually stop by and buy a can
So
sometimes.
it's
when I'm in the
beautiful,
mood.
isn't it? It's
Yes.
La Vie by LVE, and this is Legendary Vineyards, and it is a collaboration between the very wonderful and talented John Legend and the very wonderful and talented Jean-Charles Boisset.
Right.
They have been friends for many, many years. This is a friendship that actually is now over a decade old, and so John and Jean-Charles came together and work on a number of different wines, including obviously this beautiful sparkling pink bubbles. We also have a pink from Provence, and then also a Napa Cabernet. John is very, very hands-on. He's a absolute wine lover, very deeply involved in the whole process, minutely involved.
Nice.
And but he is also very much a foodie with his wonderful wife Chrissy. And
Yeah.
so wines
lovely.
that bear his name and bear his brand need that not just a quality, but they need that friendly, generous, food inspiring, food encompassing element to them.
And it's so I'm excited to know that he's hands-on with the wine. I had the chance to meet him some years ago at one of his many gazillion Grammy nominations, which of course was a win, because he's just such an incredible talent. And then I actually
Extraordinary.
watched the master class on songwriting that he did.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If only I had talent, I would have been able to use those lessons. But really, really something to watch and to understand. But what we're going to do here is we're going to go contrast a go-go, right?
Okay.
Because but we're also doing compliment.
Okay.
So we've got chicken tenders,
Okay.
which, this is going to be
I've
something
been
that
wanting one of these
and-
all for the last
right?
half an hour, Andrea. Thank
and-
you for letting me.
every once in a while I will make my own chicken tenders in the air fryer, but most of the time this is a stop and buy them.
Yep.
Because it's a labor of love, and
Yeah.
I just don't have the patience sometimes, especially weeknight. But it's a great weeknight dish.
Yeah, it's one of our specialities here at the Oakville Grocery.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's every time I bring people here who are from out of town, I say don't miss that, because what you've got. So you've got now with the food components. What can we think about when it comes to the food? We've got things like saltiness. We want something to cut through, right? So we've got acid for that. We've got things like fattiness. Same thing. We want the contrast again, but we've also got crunch. And so there's a little bit of spiciness in the coating.
Definitely a little bit of a kick. Mm-hmm. I mean, nothing aggressive, but just that sort of, again, that little lift. So there's quite a lot going on.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes.
With this, as it should be on a really good chicken tender.
So good.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Oh, it has a really nice little kick.
I told you. I did warn you.
But those bubbles, to me, are so perfect because they cut through the saltiness, they cut through the fattiness,
Swallow mine.
cut through the spice.
Yep.
And but there's still plenty of, and I guess we'll probably call in. We'll give the 2-minute warning on pizza, Andy.
Okay.
Because we're about to
We have help
change
behind the
gears
camera.
here.
Yeah.
But right now we're doing the contrast mostly.
Yes.
Of the bubbles.
Yes.
And the acid with the dish, but there is also that complement of the coating, the crunchy texture
So
with the bubbles.
what I find often with bubbles is, to your point, there's an acidity attached to them. Even bubbles that have got this beautiful fruity. This one's very fruity.
Yes.
It's got a lovely kind of cherry thing going on, but it's the acidity on a sparkling wine, and that again, it not only cuts through and sort of contrasts, but it also prolongs. I find that what it does is it allows the flavors of the chicken and the chicken tender to be prolonged as well in the mouth.
Yes.
If somehow it sort of drives it, just as the
Yes.
acidity drives through the palate, so it also drives the flavor. And again, I think that's why it's such. You can just have a simple LVE can
Yep.
on a Wednesday evening, or you can open your wonderful Grand Cru champagne and eat that with drink that with your tenders as well.
Well, now that we're royalty, we're going to drink Grand Cru champagne when
Hey, you know what?
when
I'm
we can.
really happy with
This is delicious.
I have to say.
Yes, and it's a handy size.
Yes.
Although I will say people freak out about the idea of bubbles going flat, and if you keep it chilled, if you open it carefully from the
Yes.
beginning and don't pop the cork,
Exactly.
it will keep the bubbles in.
It will, and also, frankly, this is just 250 milliliters.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy this
Yeah.
relatively quickly.
Right.
You're not going to. You don't have to worry about them dissipating.
No, I meant a bottle. Don't be
Oh,
afraid. Don't be
absolutely.
afraid to open a bottle if you're only going to have a glass.
Oh.
As long as you open it carefully.
Correct.
Carefully stick it in the fridge.
Yep.
A clamshell stopper if you've got it. But
Yep.
even if you don't,
The bubbles will be there.
they will stay. They will stay.
Yes.
So people always think, I can't open the bottle. Yes, you can.
Yep.
And they will not go
Yep.
bad. I mean, I'm talking 2 weeks. If you're not jostling it in the refrigerator, I have
Yeah.
forgotten.
Yeah.
How did I forget a bottle of champagne
Right.
open in the
How did
fridge?
you- I was gonna say,
But
how
I
did you-
did. Something got stuck in front of it, and 2 weeks later, and it was a Grand Cru, it was something fancy, and I find it. I'm like, oh no! 2 weeks later, nothing in the top, and it was magnificent and fully sparkling.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, no, fear not. But I loved what you said about how it extends the flavor, and it makes me think of a music analogy, kind of like a crescendo, or if John Legend were playing the piano and using the pedal to
There we
extend
go.
the note.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. And you know, this is so fun because we're talking about a sort of a weekday. What a simple pairing, but that doesn't have to. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun with it. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't enjoy it. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't savor it, and that those flavors, should be a celebration.
Yeah.
Should go on. You shouldn't just sit there and eat quickly and forget it.
Yeah.
These wines and the food they're your gift to you, and I think that the simpler the better.
I love that. That is the perfect way to say it. It's our gift to us.
Yes. Well, I mean, we're worth it.
Yeah, we're worth it, and life is short. So
Exactly.
that's every day should be something to celebrate, even if just the sun rose and you got through that day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you made it to dinner.
Yes.
Well, while we're talking about the sun and being lucky, we're at the harvest season here, and I wanted to take a quick second and just talk about. You brought some grapes that are just about ready.
I've borrowed these from our vineyard. Now, our wonderful winemaker, I actually met her in the vineyard this morning at Raymond, so here in Napa Valley, St. Helena, Rutherford. She was Stephanie Putnam is her name,
She's
and
amazing.
she is wonderful, and I get to work with her every day. So
Fantastic.
I'm so lucky. But she was obviously, this is a very busy time for her, and so she's out there break of dawn, tasting through the vines, tasting to see how much longer we should be leaving these grapes. So she very kindly allowed me to snaffle some Cabernet Franc.
Okay.
and some Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
So this is the Cabernet Franc, slightly bigger berry, and then you've got the Cabernet
cool.
Franc here. So aren't they beautiful?
Wow.
So pretty. They're looking really good. She's very, very pleased with the condition of the harvest so far.
Little ways out for these.
Little ways out for these, yeah. Absolutely. And actually you can taste that, can't you? It's interesting.
You can get that,
They're just
tannin grip.
That's right. But beautiful formation, very healthy clusters. She's really excited. So yes, these are just lovely, fresh this morning.
I never tire of the pageantry of the harvest season as it comes. But let's go back to our pairing rules. Now we've got another one, and I want to get your opinion on this. It's one that I've heard a lot of chefs talk about, and it works a little bit.
Okay.
But I think we need to expand the idea of it.
Okay.
And it's called If They Grew Up Together, They Go Together. And yes, of course. So we have those experiences where you know, Greek food and Greek wine, you're in Greece, you're, Tuscan food and Tuscan wine, no question about it.
Sure.
But I think it's a lot more to do with the overall climate and food aesthetic of the area.
For sure.
Rather than I just have to have Greek food with lamb or Greek salad. Not really.
No, I agree.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
No, I think you're right. I think it's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
I think it's flavorings that actually creep over borders. So it's not just of a very specific region. It's to do with, it's to do with a culture that has, in this case, been centuries, millennia in the making.
Yeah.
And
oftentimes borders shifting, but what grows there, broadly speaking,
exactly
is commonalities.
Exactly. And then also I think the lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I think when you eat, when people eat, what they eat with what they're, whether it's a prolonged meal, whether it's a family meal, whether it's and so the wines that match that sort of combination.
Yeah.
So and we might be stretching a little bit with this one, but
I don't think so.
okay.
I'm excited about this.
Okay.
So we're tasting this gigondas. Do you say the S on the end, by the way?
Gigondas.
Gigondas.
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yes.
good. That's what I thought, because
Yes.
I remember somebody in France telling me, yes, it's gigondas, but it's not Margaux.
That's right.
We
That's
leave the
right.
X off of the Margaux.
Yeah.
But I love this wine. So I've got the label up there for people to be able to see. But it's so the
Beautiful bottle.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
region name is Gigondas.
Yes.
Primarily, what grape variety?
Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. So a classic
Okay.
GSM blend. One of my favorite appellations within the Rhone Valley. Happy wines. You know, Gigondas for me are wines of, they've got body, they've got flavor, but they don't take themselves too seriously. They've got that fabulous kind of Grenache, pulpy juiciness to them, and with a little bit of backbone of Syrah and Mourvèdre. But ultimately, you know what? A wine that you could drink all day. And that's probably why we've paired it
Yes.
with
pizza.
Pizza.
So speaking of weeknight food and wine, obviously that is a classic grab and go.
And I'm going to introduce you to somebody.
Yes.
Pizza guy.
Pizza.
It's not just any pizza guy.
guy's here.
Welcome.
Come on in.
You got to slide in and
Alright.
get in the frame there. There we
There
go.
we
Oh
go.
my gosh.
Yes.
Wait, I get my
Classic.
own whole pizza?
Got a classic margarita pizza.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
And the
Hold on.
famous Oakville Grocery
Whoa.
Rustica 1881.
Oh my goodness.
So this is obviously house-made dough, very important process, as well as San Marzano tomato sauce, which you've got to have.
Yes, you do.
High-end mozzarella and fresh organic basil. And then this is the Rustica 1881,
Wow.
which is stracchino cheese with wild mushroom, Romani ham, and olive oil.
Man, I don't know what you're going to eat, Claire, but just kidding.
There's enough for 3 walls.
I think there is. In fact, Barry could just draw up a chair if you'd like to.
Indeed, you could. Indeed, you could. So,
And walk us through.
So-
Oakville Grocery, obviously very well known for its pizzas and its food. Barry Dinsmore, you can come
Yeah,
back in.
slide
Barry.
on
There
in,
we go.
slide in. There you go.
So Barry Dinsmore obviously is our director here.
Yes.
But he sees all the people that we were talking about earlier
Yes.
on, the locals, the fact that this is such a community place and has been for so many years,
Indeed.
and that we wish to absolutely honor and continue.
Absolutely.
But the food and the wine, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah,
the pairing of them together.
And the reason I think it's really, I really wanted to do pizza and talk about Rhone wines. We could talk about, for sure, many Italian wines. We could talk about a lot of Spanish red wines. These around the Mediterranean arc are all great pizza wines.
Yes.
And they tend to be, you can go to the stratosphere of price, but they also, all of those regions, whether it's Rioja in Spain or the Rhone in France, or many parts of Italy, but let's just say Tuscany and the Tuscan coast, you're gonna still be able to find values, weeknight values, and that's what we're looking for.
They're my go-to for sure. And it's funny that you just mentioned Spain. So one of the reasons that I love Gigondas, I love the Rhone Grenache-based blends, is because they remind me a little bit of autumn, of fall,
yes.
the fall season.
Yes.
There's something
harvest season.
Harvest season.
Yeah.
There's something about that change in the air. There's something about wanting just to sort of cozy up and be just a little, prepare for winter. And these wines speak to that. And obviously with the pizza's even better.
Yeah.
But there's something about Grenache from the Rhone that speaks to me of that. And I think it's that there's a slight smoke in the air, there's a slight earthiness to it. Pairs beautifully with, these pizzas look amazing, Barry, so
they smell amazing too.
It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Wow.
There we go. And then
people
obviously
love those simple pleasures.
I just smelled my food again.
And that again, I think is, fall is here, and there's that sense of wanting to bring it back in, bring it back indoors, bring it back to something a little bit simpler and a little bit more heartwarming.
Yeah.
And I think this is the match made in heaven.
A little bit more rustic. And I'm just going to get granular here and say we've got fantastic tannin to balance the fat of the olive oil and the cheeses. Grenache and Rhones generally, but I also think this is true of Tuscan reds, have a nice undernote of green herbaceousness, just but not green grassy, more like sappy green herbs, like the basil that's on here. So I think you're going to pick up. We've got complement there. We've got contrast with the tannin cutting through, and then there's to me Rhone varieties also have like almost a little bit of a sun-dried tomato fruitiness to them, a depth
for sure,
which I think will pick up the San Marzano. Yeah. So I could, there's no calories in like thinking through and talking through all of those things. But now I'm going to go for it.
The other wine, and you mentioned it, that you would pair, I think, beautifully, which has this very similar profile, is a Spanish Rioja.
Which is amazing.
So you've got that, and any Spanish wine which also has the Grenache, the Garnacha in it. Very similar, that sense of comfort. Just enough savory to match the pizza, but thank you very much.
Oh my gosh.
Cheers.
Oh my goodness.
We're gonna leave everything in place.
This is amazing. Actually, you can grab a piece and stick it on your plate, and then we can.
Thank you, Barry.
Because we do have a few more points to make, and we don't want to necessarily keep everybody.
Absolutely.
Are you hungry out there
dropping? Everybody. Well, we did have a question from Megan, who has said that she picked up takeout Thai green curry mild. Good thing to specify. And what do you recommend? So curry. So I think of Thai green curry. I think there's probably coconut milk in it. Yeah. Mild is an important distinction there. Where would you go?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
Well, there's so many choices in my opinion. I could complement the coconut with Chardonnay because it's mild.
Sure. But I would go white.
Yeah.
I would often go white.
Agree.
And I like the idea of the Chardonnay, especially the slightly sweeter, so more like the Californian.
Napa Valley,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not such I know that there's a lot to be said for more aromatic varieties, the sort of the Rieslings, the Gewürztraminers, this idea that somehow that will pair with the spicy food. I'm not so convinced on personally. I think, to your point, it's more the matching of the texture.
Yeah.
And also a sort of a cooling sensation. That again is why I would go with a white wine, because I would be likely to be serving it slightly more chilled.
Right.
Rosé is actually another really
great idea.
Really smart choice with curry, especially milder curries.
Milder. Yeah, and I think if you did have some heat there, then you could go in the Riesling direction with a little bit of sugariness.
Sure.
Because if you think about those Thai dipping sauces, like where it's got chili and it's got rice vinegar, but it also has sugar.
Yes.
What are they doing with the sugar? They're using that to tone down the chili, and there's a lot of a lot of sense to that. It really does, sweet tames heat is the way I like to say it. But this one hers being mild, I think the Chardonnay is a great idea. I think rosé, especially one with a little bit of lees, like we talked about in the last episode, is a great idea.
Yes.
And you said texture. If you were going to go in those aromatic grape varieties, maybe Pinot Gris, like an Alsace Pinot Gris or something.
That's exactly right. Something which has got that sort of phenolic breath to it, which is the texture,
the crunch,
basically.
the mouth filling.
Mouth feel. It's a little bit like, on a fruit, you've got the sort of pith that surrounds the fruit. I always think of that as that slight sort of extra layer of texture.
Yeah. And we just really talked through something that to me is one of the most important pairing principles. I call it's the prep, not the protein, because we just talked about Megan's green curry. We didn't ask what the protein was. Doesn't matter.
No,
we're totally focused
right.
on the green curry piece of it. It could be any protein or none at all and be vegetables. You're not matching to the fact that it's shrimp or beef or chicken or whatever.
No, that's right.
And I think and it used to drive me crazy when you'd see a shelf talker or a back label of a wine that said goes with chicken. And I'm like, well, does that chicken have a lemon sauce and it's poached? Or does it have a rich, deep mushroom ragu or like wild mushrooms like on the pizza?
Right, or is it crispy and fried?
Exactly.
And,
So very well said. So I'm going to change the game and that's why this red wine with red meat and the whole color thing it's only the basics of foundation. Prep, not the protein, is where I'm at, because I want to match it to, and there may be no protein at all, or it may not be anything to do with animal protein. Maybe it's a really rich legume-based dish that's giving me the complete protein, maybe with some rice. I'm probably going red wines because of the earthiness of those things. And so how it's prepared, how it's seasoned is really a lot more interesting.
And where it takes you. So
that's good.
I like and it can either take you to where it originated, where it came from. Obviously, in this case, Gigondas Bonpas is a property that was established, over 1,000 years ago. I mean, we're talking real history here. Again, part of the Boisset collection, but it's exactly 1318.
1318.
And so it can, so the wine can take you to this. You can imagine the sort of heat of a southern Rhone evening, lavender in the air, a slight earthiness, or it can take you again to a happy place in your own mind in terms of comfort. And I do think that's, when you're putting things together like this, you're doing something that is meant to be entirely pleasurable. And we have so many things at our fingertips to help us do that. Wine being the number one, and food, simple food. I mean, I know this is beautifully presented, but it's actually ultimately, bottom line is we've got tenders, we've got some cheese, we've got a salad here, we've got pizza. This is all you need. It's
very, very simple, especially if somebody else is making it, and you're stopping by the Oakville grocery or the grocery, because you can buy a Caesar salad kit.
Let us do it for you.
We do it all the time, right? And so let's talk about that for a second, because that's a Caesar salad, chicken Caesar salad. I mean, I remember when Caesar salad was considered to be a tableside continental, preparation in fancy restaurants that I never went to.
Right.
Now you have Caesar salad in every restaurant.
It's one of my son's favorite salads, and it's probably the only salad that he will eat. But I don't blame him. Look at these. We've got flowers
these are
on
gorgeous.
ours, but let's just sort of put those to one side. We could stick those in our ear, but
very
straightforward, but crispy. So for me, Caesar salad has to be crispy. That beautiful lettuce.
The crunch of the lettuce.
Wonderful crunch of the croutons.
Yep.
The cheese that just picks it all up, gives a little bit of salt to the and then obviously this rather creamy dressing. Not too much of the dressing, but just enough to give you that sort of smooth layer over the food. This one, Also smells lovely as well.
Yeah,
Here we
it
go,
smells
we're smelling our food.
fantastic. We're smelling our food. Remember, no calories in that. But so the thing about Caesar salad is, yes, it's a salad, but it's got some heft, right? It's getting some
Exactly.
richness from the croutons, which have been, usually olive oil fried or browned and crisped up with some fat.
Yeah.
And then it's also getting a lot of richness from
that looks
the
wonderful.
Parmesan cheese,
Yeah.
and it's getting some richness from the dressing, right?
Exactly.
Which may have a little fishiness to it,
Yep.
because of the anchovies, if you go with anchovies.
Yep.
So a couple of thoughts here then. First of all, this is a salad, but it is not light in body.
No.
So we can
No.
go heavier.
Yes.
And we can also, but it's also right in the middle.
Yes.
Even if it had chicken on it, I would still
Yep.
say you could go white or red.
Sure.
And so for me, this is sort of tailor-made for a classic barrel fermented. I'll go ahead and say American style. I'll lump in with us our Washington friends and our Oregon friends, but California is the leader in this style of this richer, riper barrel fermented Chardonnay. I think it's the perfect match
Okay, here
for
we go.
this type of a dish.
Yes.
Because it has the body of a barrel fermented or richer Chardonnay.
gonna rinse that a little
Thank
bit for you.
And but it's also got still not a bunch of, not too heavy, and it's white, so it's not going to bring out or clash with the fishiness that might come through a little bit of that anchovy character, right?
I think well, you're absolutely right. I also think what I love about this one's a Napa Valley, obviously very classic Chardonnay, but what I love about it is that it's not overpowering. It isn't sweet. It's got this wonderful acidity. There's been a real movement towards having this, retaining the freshness and the acidity, as well as having the ripeness from the natural really and extraordinary climate that we have here. So
This
really
is
good.
Such a win. It's so good. To me, like
me
that's
taste,
a
let me
go-to.
taste. Yeah.
If you've got like
Yep.
barrel fermented classical
Yeah.
Napa Valley, we live here and we love it.
Yeah,
So
and it's a stylish wine and yet a small
Absolutely.
price. And I think again,
Yeah.
perfect for weeknights.
yeah, and I really think they're just two great favorites that happen to go really well together, but there are reasons for it that we've talked through now. They're really matching on body, but you've got the acid to cut through the richness of the cheese and the croutons, but you still have that brightness that matches crisp with crisp, so it's a really great complement and contrast play.
That's delicious.
Yeah, and I honestly think that it would also play really nice with the Pinot Noir, because the Pinot Noir doesn't go so far into red heaviness to overpower it, but it has really great acid to
Agreed.
cut through that richness there.
Agreed. And yet it's more for me a summery dish, so I wouldn't go towards the Gigondas.
Agreed.
Which is to say I've kind of pushed into fall and early winter.
Yeah.
This salad, I think, again, where does it take me? It takes me to summer, even if I'm eating it
I'm doing it.
in at Christmas. It takes me to summer, and so what I pair with it, wine-wise, also needs to take me there as well. And that's what I mean about how lucky we are to be living in today's wine world.
Yes.
We have
Got a little bit
so
of
many
everything.
options
Yep.
available to us now
Yes.
that are personal as well as global.
Yes.
And it's there to be explored and
Yeah.
discovered.
Yeah, and I just did taste it with the Pinot Noir, and I will say,
Yeah.
if you're a red wine drinker and you love Caesar salad, it's such a great pairing.
Yeah.
Love that. And it does make me want to ask you, because I think Pinot Noir and Chardonnay both hail from the classic Burgundy region of France.
Sure.
Jean-Charles, his
Absolutely.
family is from there. He grew up there.
Absolutely.
That's the mothership.
Yes.
And those two grapes
Yes.
seem to really be able to walk the tightrope of so many more foods than people give them credit for. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And what you should know about Burgundians is that they are the stomach of France. So you have
funny.
Paris as its brain. You have Champagne as possibly its soul.
Okay.
Burgundy is the stomach, and
Nice.
by that I mean that the Burgundians eat beautifully, but quite simply.
Right.
But the ingredients It's all about the ingredients, and it's about the company.
Right.
And they are incredibly generous people. Sitting around a table, sharing wine, sharing food is something that comes so incredibly naturally, certainly to the Boisset family and to those in the sort of wider community of Burgundy. So the Pinot Noir Chardonnay, there is no, there's no mistaking. They didn't make a mistake when they chose those grape varieties,
right,
because they knew 1,000 years ago, that this was something that they would need to complement their love of food and nature,
right,
and that wines should be made with that in mind.
Yes, yeah, it's and I love that you said they eat simply, because even though it's really just these two grapes that are their signatures, and
Yes.
these are the models, every Pinot Noir and Chardonnay made throughout the world is modeled on classic French Burgundy. So they are, really, really incredibly important and noble. One grape, no blend, all the complexity comes from each place.
Yes.
And bringing that out.
Yes.
And it's so subtle.
Yes.
It's sort of like great music. Maybe John Legend would be able to tell us something about that. There are certain genres of music that are really subtle, and you have to pay attention and tease it out. That's how these grapes are.
Yes.
And I think that's why the food is simple, because you don't want to have this big competition going.
I think that's exactly right. I think the other thing that I adore about Burgundy is that, despite it being one of the world's oldest regions, it's not necessarily the oldest, but one of the world's, it's still making wines today that resonate with our palates, our sense of well-being, our sense of purpose. So whether it's sustainable, organic, biodynamic, fresh, moderately in alcohol, untainted, if you like, by the cosmetics of winemaking.
Right.
All of these things that resonate, I think, with all of us still to this
Especially
day,
today.
and maybe especially today. Burgundy is still championing that and making wines that speak to us, and they speak to a sense of the community and sharing and eating together. It's that communion.
Right. Which is, what else? I mean, that's why we're all here.
Yes.
Right? We are social people,
Yes.
and we need to connect with each other. And when we do, we share our humanity, which is absolutely precious.
Absolutely.
So we have an egg dish, and the Burgundy is the perfect segue to that, because I remember in French cooking school, I learned to make a classic egg dish, which I think is Burgundian, but you'll know because you.
It's the œuf meurette or something.
Exactly.
Voilà.
And it is a great example of the prep, not the protein.
Yes.
Because, look at you. I didn't tell her she was going to have to be like doing all this juggling of dishes.
2 hands.
While I
have
sit
a glass
here,
in one.
while I sit here and just lick my fingers.
Yeah.
But
as long as I don't throw the eggs on the floor.
you did really
there
well.
There we go.
It's a great example of the prep, not the protein, because eggs are a vehicle for a preparation method or a seasoning approach.
Okay.
Œuf meurette is basically eggs poached in this really wonderful, deep, long reduced red wine sauce, obviously based on Pinot Noir.
Yes.
Got a little bacon in it, I think, if I remember right.
I think so too, although it's been a long time since I've tried to make it.
So think about weeknight wine and food. Like, what are you going to throw together? Eggs have finally come down in price,
yes,
and they're still way less expensive than going to buy a steak or something.
Yes,
and there they are, just waiting for you to come up with a prep. This is deviled eggs, because you can't take the southern girl, the girl out of the South without bringing some of the South with her.
Right.
And I love deviled eggs because you bring a little bit of acid to the party. You also bring a little bit of, either spice, or which these have a little bit of a cayenne kick to them.
Yeah, they do.
Sometimes, like my grandmother used to put chopped up pickles.
That's nice. Yeah,
chopped up dill pickles. So you got a little bit,
crunch.
Yeah, a little crunch and a little texture. But they're so simple and so easy. And this for me, so you can contrast the richness, but you can complement the texture, which is total, to me, just satiny, silky.
It really is
textural.
Though. It is, and I think we like to have fun with eggs, don't we? I mean, it's a meal in itself. One egg is just all you need, and or maybe 2. But the I love these because there's a sort of a theatrical element to deviled eggs, this kind of swirl, and yet so simple. Oh my goodness, to make. I mean, really, really very straightforward, and yet a celebration for sure.
I'm busy
and again,
over
a
here
real treat. So what are
experimenting.
you? So you're having it with the Chardonnay.
I had it with the Pinot Noir first because in my mind there it was a question of texture with texture.
Yeah.
Because I think of Pinot Noir as being very silky and creamy, and eggs also always bring that kind of satiny, but they always still bite back a little bit, right?
Sure.
Which I love.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try it with the Chardonnay as well. But to me, that's a really fun thing to do and easy. And then you can also play with that. I mean, I've been to places that do like truffle deviled eggs and things like that, and really get. And then then you can go. Then you could go Pinot Noir for sure.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. And again, to your point, the French absolutely cook with red wine and eggs. You know, so they know a thing or two about how to bring out various components. Yes, eggs are they're so staple, aren't they? I think. Nothing better than coming home and realizing that you've got eggs in the fridge and you can make yourself an omelette.
Yes.
You know, or a creamy scrambled egg.
Yeah.
Or and you just think, there we go, comfort food right there. Certainly the one thing I knew that my children would eat if they refused everything else, they would eat egg.
Yes, yes, and it's really, really good for you. And the other thing that I do for weeknight meal a lot is just a simple green salad and cheese. This place, the Oakville Grocery, has one of the most amazing cheese selections in the Valley.
Yes.
And
it really does. It really does.
Really,
actually.
really.
We take real pride in that.
Yeah.
And the selection is wonderful. And you need to come in and talk to our cheese people.
Yeah.
Because they'd be so delighted to let you sample and work your way through these different things. We've actually got a selection here, but you told me that cheese was your go-to.
It's a go-to for weeknight. So it's like a green salad. I learned to make vinaigrette in culinary school, so it's easy for me, and I enjoy it a whole lot. If I've got a lemon or I've got a little bit of, I usually use sherry vinegar rather than red wine vinegar.
Okay.
Because I think sherry vinegar goes more with the wine styles that I like to pair the dish with.
Interesting.
It's got a little bit more of a base note and a depth to it.
Okay.
Maybe that's because I'm pairing it with a lot of New World, especially California, especially Napa Valley wines. But I love that, and just so I get some nice protein. Some healthy protein and healthy fat from the cheese, because I know now it's saturated, but we know that saturated fat is actually okay.
Yes.
Not in a huge abundance, but the dose is always the big thing with anything that we consume. But that to me makes a meal. Because I get my vegetables and I get my protein and my fat.
I agree with you. And again, you can play with cheese. The flavor, the texture.
Yeah.
Texture's everything.
Yes, absolutely.
I've always promised myself that I would learn more about cheese, and I have had taken some classes, and I have listened to cheese experts. I find them fascinating because they bring to life the story. They tell you about the sheep, or the cow, or the goat that has produced, where that goat is living, and
their diet, the time of year for the milk harvest.
Exactly, and just these sort of little details.
Yeah.
And again, you can kind of get the picture in your mind, and it sort of, I don't know, it joins you back to the earth. And that maybe sounds a little fanciful, but with a lot of these foods, if you think about the eggs, think about the chicken, and then you think about the wines, the grapes. Brings you right back to earth.
Well, it's all farmed and grown, and in the case of cheese, it's also fermented.
Yes.
And once you bring fermentation in, whether it's wine or cheese or coffee or chocolate or bread, you get complexity. Right? Fermentation changes things. That's why grape juice and wine don't taste the same.
No.
Because fermentation brings all kinds of new stuff to the party, including historically longevity. And when you had milk and it was fresh, you needed to ferment and age it in order to be able to keep it.
Yes.
Same with grape juice. Same with drying fruit. Same with fermenting and curing meats like charcuterie and stuff. So fermentation has a long history of being very helpful to foodstuffs, both in terms of tasting better and lasting longer. Yeah, and it's adding complexity. It's pretty special. Now we had a question from James about fish tacos, and James, I'm going to put it right back at you and say, well, how are they prepared, or how are they really seasoned? Because if it's my fish taco, I've loaded up that shell, which should be corn, it should be soft, but I've grown up in parts of the world where it was a flour. But I like corn tortillas, and my fish taco is going to have a boatload of guacamole in it.
Ooh.
In which case, I'm going to match to the guacamole, which has cilantro and lime juice, and I'm going to go for a Sauvignon Blanc. But
Lovely.
if
I like that.
it's really spicy, I might change horses. But what's your go-to? Or
So, I think that's brilliant. I've been looking for. I happen to love Sauvignon Blanc. I really do, and can't go wrong with it. And I would probably select a Sauvignon Blanc, actually probably over a Chardonnay these days. However, I am also very conscious that there are lookalikes, and exciting lookalikes to Sauvignon Blanc that we should all be, and a lot of those are the Italian grape varieties.
Yes.
Things like Vermentino, for example,
Oh,
I find has got that,
Vermentino.
has got that sort of lovely freshness,
Yes.
that zip. And is less sort of assertive. So, in fact, many white Italian grape varieties, I think, have the potential. I also like some of the Rhone whites as well. Again, the sort of fresher style, the Picpoul, and things that are a little bit unusual. And again, you can find those,
Yes.
and they aren't expensive.
And you can be fearless because
you can be fearless. They're not
there's not
expensive
a-
because
yeah.
people you would never buy them if they were really expensive.
Right.
So the market demands that they are kept at a reasonable price point, and yet they are, in my opinion,
Yeah.
so exciting and so delicious. So you can't go wrong, and you should try as many different white grape varieties as possible. Sauvignon Blanc, spot on for a fish taco. Yeah.
So you've got a homework assignment.
You have, and look at the world map. Look at wine regions that are next to the ocean.
Yeah.
And pick a wine that comes from that. So a muscadet, for example, from the Loire.
Perfect.
Because they're going to be served with the fish dishes, the local fish dishes. Go down the coast of Portugal. Go down the coasts of Italy. Find and then the Spain, the sort of Spanish coastline. Again, find the regions that are next to the ocean.
Yeah.
And pick a wine from there. Pick a grape variety that's grown there and match that with your fish, your seafood.
That's perfect. That's one where if they grew up together, they go together. Works.
Exactly.
Fish regions
Exactly.
and fish wines. They come from the same place.
And what you're doing there is you're killing two birds with one stone. You're exploring wine and
Yeah.
you're exploring grape varieties. You're also exploring the world.
Yeah.
You're also then thinking about your next vacation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you'll be looking at that
all
cruise
wonderful
itinerary,
things.
like where do
That's
they
right.
stop? Yeah.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. So we'll wrap it up. Our last wine pairing rule, though, that I didn't make a graphic for, but this is one that I think everyone will relate to, and you tell me if you agree. If somebody else is paying, it's a match.
So walk me through that.
If it's an expensive wine, then somebody else is paying. If I'm in a steakhouse and somebody
Yes.
buys Dom Perignon and I'm
You
having
say
steak,
it
I'm not going to
works.
say, oh no, champagne and steak, don't go. I'm going to say, yes,
Oh my
please.
God, never. Absolutely. First rule, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And you say, can I have another glass,
Yes,
please?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like that.
So weeknight wine and food pairing, we talked through a lot of the principles that you can think about. And you don't necessarily have to think about dividing up or slicing and dicing like the identity of your food or your wine, but why not? It's kind of fun.
It is.
Why did you go buy the chicken tenders in the first place?
Yeah.
Why did you buy the pizza in the first place? Because those are the taste profiles and the texture profiles that you're looking for, and it's fun to then start to think about wine in the same context. So Claire, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Really, really
Andrea.
fantastic. And oh my gosh, this is just extraordinary.
We're going to be here for the duration.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly,
but no, but
exactly.
thank you.
Don't you wish you were here? So
Come
just
and see us.
a quick note that we will be doing a hashtag Champagne Day warm up on October 15th. That's our next episode of Quench, because the Champagne Day, hashtag Champagne Day, and I know that Boisset makes a lot of
We do.
a lot of champagne.
We do.
It's the fourth Friday of October.
Okay.
So October 15th, that's going to be our warm up to understand pairing champagne, styles of champagne, how it's made, things like that. So we'll be getting ready for that. And
That'll be wonderful. You won't want to miss that.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. And I'm really, really grateful for the hospitality here at the Oakville Wine Merchant, the incredible Oakville grocery stuff. Wow, it's just so good.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Oh my gosh.
And it's it's a total pleasure, and it's available. It's here.
Yeah.
So and it's
Come
here
see
for
them.
everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And to Jean-Charles Boisset and the Boisset collection.
Yes.
Really, really grateful for everything
We'll
that
raise
they
our
do
glass
for us.
to Jean-Charles.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Cheers to that.
Cheers, Jean-Charles.
And we know he's looking or watching us from afar. Mm-hmm. Please subscribe to the channel so that you'll get that reminder for the next episode and all the next episodes. Thank you for joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you soon. Happy Weeknight Wine and Food. Cheers.